What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so much for clicking this video. My name is Lisa and my channel is all about bringing you fun and competitive decks to play, and that does include seasonal mode. That's another thing, which we are going to talk about today. First of all, I want to say thanks to my subscribers for all the support. The views, the likes, the sincere comments are really what makes this journey worth it for me, so thank you all in helping me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So, this month's seasonal mode is called Battle Rush, in which both players have just 8 seconds to complete their turn and 15 seconds for the mulligan phase. And there's actually two ways to go about this. You can play any deck you are having fun with in ranked mode and play it in Battle Rush perfectly fine. But where this game mode really shines is two things: completing quests super fast and grinding out contracts. So if you are behind on your Alzurs Journey quests, this is the time to get those quests out of the way in a fast and efficient manner. And like always, seasonal is a great mode to blow off some steam if you're having a hard time on the ranked ladder, like hitting a plateau or facing tilt. So let's get into this Battle Rush deck. Decision making does need to be really fast in this seasonal mode. 8 seconds is not a whole lot if you take animations, aiming, selecting cards and all that kind of stuff into account. It is a high risk, high reward strategy to go with a powerful meta deck such as Vi or Shield Wall, and while decks like that might be incredibly strong, you will screw up some turns, you might not be able to get all the abilities off in time, you will burn some cards by not playing them or passing in time, and it might actually cost you a game or two. Depending on whether or not you like things like speed chess, you might actually have a really bad or really brilliant time doing so. If you do not like the challenge of playing super fast, you don't need any other deck than the ones you already own, or you could just look up any tier list and try pulling off playing those decks in Battle Rush, and you might actually have a good time. The other way to go about it is to make a deck that is very strong but doesn't take a whole lot of time to complete its turns. Think of it more like a fail-safe approach where you balance a strong deck while not giving yourself many possibilities to screw up. Then Point Slam and Engine decks are very good candidates. So I basically took a Thrive deck with the Frost package as a starting point, screwed up the Frost stuff in pronunciation but also in playing way too many times while playtesting because it took too long to play it out. So I took out the Frost package and I switched up the deck so that it's relaxing to play in this mode, very mobile friendly, pretty competitive, hard to screw up, and as an added bonus, it's actually a pretty good vehicle to get your quest out of the way for stuff like Alzurs Journey or grind out certain contracts if you're into that. So let's take a look at how the deck is built. And remember, the goal is to build a deck with an easy to execute strategy that works for mobile players and other slow and lazy people like us. This deck can do two things: building lots of value with Thrive over a longer round and play super high tempo in a very short round. Balancing the two will bring you success while playing this deck. The leader ability we pick for this deck is Force of Nature. Fruits of Iskith is probably better, but Force of Nature is less intensive to use and works very well with our newest Thrive card, Way of the Witcher Gathas, Koshchi. Now if you haven't seen this card, take some time to read the description first, but this card can rack up an insane amount of points in a medium-long round. That's right, a medium-long round. Remember how I said that this deck can do two things: long drive rounds and short tempo rounds? This card nicely fills that gap. It's usually best to save him for your 5th last card, so you maximize the chances of triggering its ability without it getting removed, and I often save my leader ability to use in the same turn as I play him. So what could possibly be better than Koshchi in this deck? Well, that's obvious, another Koshchi. And Caranthir or Fineel just does that. The great thing about Caranthir is that he works on gold cards as well as bronze cards, so if you don't get the opportunity to create a second Koshchi, the Beast is often a target I prefer. As he grows by 2 points, he is a force to be reckoned with. The Beast is pretty nice to drop mid-game in a longer round where you want to save up your big guys as finishers, but you drop them before your Thrive cards get above 4 health. Now, if you are using this deck as a way to get quests or contracts done, it is totally fine to replace the Beast. I would suggest replacing him with something that has 5 or more health in order to proc your Thrive more easily. So let's move on to the other Thrive cards, starting with the tried and tested and beloved Endraga Larvae. Just great stuff to build around. I also put in a Necker as it functions a lot like Endraga Larvae without the armor, but I did find the amount of 1 health units in the list was a bit too high, so there's just 1 in the list. But if you play him, you will get the second one anyway. Bruxa also has Thrive, but has enough HP to give Thrive to the other units as well, and this card is just generally really hard to pass up, as it's almost always 5 points for 4 proficiency even without getting any Thrive procs off, so he's just, or she is rather just great all around. I used to have a second Necker in this slot, but there is a single Wyvern in there as well, which is basically a slightly weaker version of Bruxa, which bypasses armor with her bleed, and Wyvern is forced to be played on the range row. It works the same though and balances out the amount of units with Thrive that can give Thrive nicely as well to the lower units. As being able to give newly spawned Endragal larvae, Thrive procs is actually really important since we are running them and run Koshi as well. The Pukas are another very nice addition to the archetype provided by way of the Witcher. It can proc Thrive on your opponent's turn, it has Veil, it has armor. Honestly, I don't know what not to love about it. So the deck runs a bunch of big guys in order to proc Thrive, so Old Spirit Tip is an obvious choice here. I did include his sleepy little brother as well, as he is perfect for a lazy deck. Yeah. Another big guy is Igern, of course. Although usually a little more thought goes into playing this card because of his risk of removal, the reach of this card is just insane. I put Goliath in there as well, as your opponent will most likely play a deck that has very little interaction with your board, so the chances of his Death Wish ability backfiring are very small. And this one is a little less obvious, but Pugo Boombreaker is 10 power for 7 proficiency, with downside that he damages one of your units by 3. But because we are running multiple units with armor, such as Puka and Endragal larvae, and summoning multiple Endragal larvae with Koshi, the chances of Pugo hitting something with armor and therefore negating the downsides of this card is actually pretty decent. So Alzurs Double Cross is a way of tutoring the highest unit, and please do keep in mind you might summon an Igern with very little armor if you are not careful, so keep that in mind. And since we are running a whole lot of big guys, it makes a lot of sense to run Osrel as well. He just provides late game tempo in getting your big guys back on the board again in the later rounds for some big tempo and a lot of Thrive procs. We also run 2 Noon Raids. I personally really dislike those cards because it never really feels good when I play them, but it's hard to argue with 6 power for 4 provisions in a game mode where your opponent is unlikely to kill them off, especially in a Thrive deck. The deck runs Gerald Earden, and that card is honestly the reason I did not go the Devotion route, as I originally had NL Conquerors in the list, but since many players are running greedy decks with lots of self-boosting engines or Thrive, like we do, this card alone has won me enough games to deserve its spot in the list. I usually save this card for the very last turn. So there are 4 cards left that we have not touched upon, 2 of them being Wild Hunt Riders. They provide some deck thinning and consistency since we usually will have dominance. They are also fairly reasonable to play during round 2 if you want to bleed your opponent. If you want to get quests or contracts done though, look into replacing these, preferably with cards with at least 4 or 5 power. And to round off the list there are 2 Wild Hunt Hounds, which fit the lazy team of the deck and will usually take care of themselves, providing we slam some big guys down. Just like the Wild Hunt Riders, feel free to replace those cards with anything you need for contracts or quests. So to summarize, if you use this list to get your journey quests or contracts, feel free to replace the Wild Hunt Riders, Wild Hunt Hounds, the Beast, and you could also go as far as replace Alzurs Double Cross and a Wyvern as well, providing you replace them by something that procs Thrive reasonably easy. So let's take the deck for a spin and talk about how it plays.
I heard you're a fan of my work. Ardently so.
I absolutely am. Alright, let's go. This mulligan is looking decent. Putting this away as it's a very low provision card. This might be very useful. Yeah, sure. So basically this deck is very easy to play because playing the unit with the lowest power is usually your best play. That's what makes it easy. And then you just drop your Thrive cards and then you play the rest. That's the general gist of it, so you should even be able to do that on mobile, right? Make sure to not play Igern too late. Because you have Igern in hand, it's pretty safe to play Alzurs Double Cross for reach late game. drop the beast there to not play the beast like too late. I want to save Karantir our final to couple with Koshki. Drop these so the beast gets bigger, and we have domination for or dominance rather for the Wild Hunt Riders next turn. That's fine. So now we're basically just emptying our hand in order to play Koshki. You could consider saving Koshki for the next round. Actually, we might just do that and just play some high tempo stuff with some tactical advantage going on as well. I think our lead is big enough. Like, I'd honestly consider playing Igern at this point, even though he will be very easy to remove. That is unfortunate. I'm going to play this, and maybe we'll be able to win the round with Gerald. That would actually be ideal, because next round we would have 5 cards, so we can open with Koshki. Or actually at this point, how much points will this give? I'm passing because it's a pretty small Earden, and he will go into round 2 with a card disadvantage if he wins this round. I was hoping he had less of a tempo swing at the last turn. I just did not have time for all my calculations. So let's see if he gives us a dry pass. Like, this is rubbish, by the way. This is like the total bottom side of the deck. That's fine. Might give us a dry pass. Oh, he's going for it. We just can't risk starting out slow. Let's see if he passes now and just got the knight out of the way. Or if he goes for a... if he tries to bleed us in round 2. He is going for it. Alright. We'll go for the first Koshki. Now if he cannot deal with this, then we're good for this round. Like, we want to basically save the second Koshki for the third round. That's alright, Koshki lives. That is by far the most important thing. And we can always play our hero power, or leader ability. Man, you can say I'm an old Hearthstone player, right? That's too bad. Play this on the ranged row. Get the juicy boy out, and he will probably realize he cannot win this round anymore and just save the card for next round. Otherwise you still have the leader ability. Really? Well, that was free. Boost by 1. He just totally wasted the card. He wasn't even closing the gap. Even if I would have had like 0 cards left, it wouldn't have been enough. He really lost the game at that point. Not too fond about that. Yeah, this is decent. Actually, I'm putting Geralt away. Because there's no way he's getting like a Geralt worthy board with just 3 cards. So we actually open with Enrica Larvas. Then we play Koshchi next turn with our leader ability. Maybe we save the leader ability for when Pucha is out as well. Puka? Not sure. Like that will hit armor, which is totally fine. Like hopefully my opponent will trigger the Thrive of Puka as well. I'm going with Puka. Sounds cute. Is in fact pretty dangerous. Like, see how fast you need to be with animation and stuff? Like, if you're not in time, the game just randomly places the Woodland Spirit on either row, which could backfire really badly. So next turn we're playing the Noon Wraith to proc the Thrive and get this. Well, okay, not this, but the others. And that is a pretty convincing win in my book. He misplayed though, he really misplayed. Like, never do that, guys. Never forfeit, like, after you've played your last card, because I do believe you get, like, less XP. Not sure about it. If you know for sure, let me know in the comments below. But I do believe you get lesser rewards in some kind of way if you forfeit versus playing out the whole match. Alright. A very brave Chinese soul playing Skellige. Like, I find it hard to play Skellige in this game mode, since you need to damage a lot of units, and like his hero or his leader ability, it's actually kind of hard to manage in time. I'm putting Osro away because I won't have anything useful in my graveyard. Obviously the second Wild Hand Rider goes away as well, so I get to pull one out and not break it. I'm having a lot of Thrive stuff in my hand. Like, I don't have like super powerful cards in my hand. Well, Koshi isn't there, but honestly, if you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Thrive cards on board, and then you get to play a few big guys, then you rack up points like super fast. So again, guys, just play the lowest units first, maybe with the exception of Geralt. Keep an eye on your Thrive stuff. Save Koshi as your 5th last card. Save the big guys for last. Play the piece in the middle around the time that you play Koshi. It's basically the game plan. We basically keep slamming Thrive. Like on a ranked game, those neckers will be gone by now because of a less rate. I'm about to say something that will demonetize the video. So against Skellige you don't want to damage too many units at once, because they usually trigger their own bloodthirst with it, so it's usually best to focus all bleeds on one target, providing you still have the luxury of having enough turns to let all the ticks finish. I'd say it's Koshchi time. Come on! I want to pick the row. There we go. Like, you need to be like a little bit quick when you use the Force of Nature. We are in a decent spot, but it will be hard to get dominance because of this guy. So the Wild Hunt Rider is bricked basically. I do think. Let's play the Noon Raid first, because the Noon Raid procs another Endriga larva, so the beast will also boost this one. It's usually better to proc the Thrive on Koshi than to play like the lowest unit, so you can proc the lowest larvas, if you guys know what I mean. So this is a rough choice to make. I do go with this one, because that's 2 points a turn, which is quite a lot. So even if we have to play a bricked Wild Hunt Rider as the last turn, it will give Thrive to 2 Endriga larva, so it will be 6 points instead of 8, which is not the worst. Like, obviously 10 points would have been a lot better, but... See, it did armor right there. So this ended up being 9 points for 7 provisions, which is fairly decent. You can get them back with Alzurs as well. So it adds some consistency there. Ouch, this kind of hurts. But it does not hurt enough. Almost did though. This is why Irden is such a good inclusion when you're playing this game mode, because there's very little interaction. So a lot of people are just playing SimCity on their own half of the board. This is good. This is obviously bricked. Well, at least we have the bug. Actually, we're dry passing here. Almost forgot to dry pass. Oh, it's a stressful game mode. He still has his leader ability though, but we go into round 3 with a 1 card up, so that's pretty good. Then we just open with the Thrive. Do we have some cool stuff left? We definitely do. The Igern, that's the best. Like, we're putting the Wild Hunt. Like, this is good. It's like medium long round, and we have 2 very high tempo cards. This is alright as well to proc some Thrive. Maybe we do this, put this away. Yeah, there we go. This is a very high tempo hand, guys. So we'll start out with a Thrive, and we'll actually be able to proc Thrive quite a bit, the big guys. I don't think the guy used his onslaught a single time. He just didn't have the time to do it. If he would have won last round. So we play the Igern first to give it more armor. Doesn't have a whole lot of armor. It's quite worrisome. Especially with Herkia on the board. That's alright. Like, we get to bring it back with Osril, which is great. Actually wondering what the highest unit will be. Will probably be lower than these. That's alright. I always like to save like Osril like a big consume, like the big like play the biggest guys last. Like the high tempo guys you save last. I mean, it's common practice to start with your engines and the stuff that generates value over time. But it's just another way to catch your opponent off guard. Didn't go off. No damage at my side of the board. This is looking good. There's no way he does like. Doesn't even matter. It's too bad he didn't destroy this one and summon something. Just play this on the range row so you get to consume your own stuff, and you actually have to be fairly quick, but Azrael is manageable. So there you have it, guys. 2 pretty quick games. I do believe my opponents made a lot of misplays, but then again, that's all that this game mode is all about. As you saw in the mulligans, feel free to swap out some cards like Wild Hunt Riders, so you can get your quest done and stuff like that. Also, be sure to give me some support and love on the channel in the form of a like, and if you liked the video and you're still here at the end, please consider subscribing. Let me know what you guys think of the video, and I will see you guys soon.